This webinar is brought to you by Admit Advantage. Admit Advantage is a leading global admissions and career consulting company founded by the same people who built AdmitMe. Visit admitadvantage.com for more details.
So the career profile of Harvard Business School students, as you can see, and this is typical across a lot of MBA programs, the majority of students come from a consulting, financial services, or a high-tech background. And that's in part because a lot of times coming from consulting or financial services, in order to progress within your company, an MBA is almost needed. And then high tech, you have a lot of people in startups that want to get that additional business experience, an MBA, which can also help them propel. If you do not come from one of these backgrounds, do not feel disadvantaged in the application process. Sometimes being different can make you stand out a lot easier and can really make your profile shine. So this is just what the averages are, but this is no indication of if you come from consulting that your chances of getting in are going to be that much harder, or if you don't come from it, they'll be that much harder. It all really boils down to your profile and how you tell your story during the application process. So in terms of admissions, Harvard Business School has an 11% acceptance rate. The average GMAT score is 730, and keep in mind that this is average, it's not the range. So I know people that have been admitted with GMAT scores even in the high 500s, and while I would not aim for that, I would definitely aim for mid 700s. Don't be discouraged if your GMAT score isn't in the 700s. The average undergrad GPA is 3.71. And as you know, there's not much that we can do when we're applying about our undergrad GPA, but I do think that they take into consider the schools that you went to and the majors that you've had. So me, for example, I studied mechanical engineering undergrad. Engineering is very intense. So I do think that if your GPA is a little bit lower than the average person entering their class with an engineering background, that sometimes they tend to look at that and acknowledge, okay, engineering is very rigorous. So if they don't have a 3.71, it's okay. Again, it's all components of your total package. And speaking of the GMAT, with that 730 average score, the average score for the GRE is 164 for both verbal and quant. I oftentimes get questions about which one should I take, the GMAT or the GRE. And in terms of the admissions committee, there's not really a big difference. I would say whichever test you decide to take, do your best to do your best. The tests are a little bit different and they have a little bit different of a feel and a style. So my advice, if you haven't yet determined which exam you want to take, is take a full-length practice GMAT and take a full-length practice GRE. See how you feel when taking each of them, which one kind of felt more comfortable to you, and then also see what scores you get on each of them. They're similar, but they have their differences. And again, as long as you work hard to do your best, that's what's important. So now we're getting to the fun stuff, academics. So HBS is a 2-year full-time program, as you know, and it's broken up into 2 years, what we call the RC year and what we call the EC year. So the RC year is a year-long field course, year one, and the RC year stands for required curriculum. So during your first year, you're in a section with about 90 people, and there tends to be about 10 sections. And you are with those people for the whole first year. I jokingly say it's kind of like being in elementary school where you have assigned seats in a classroom and the different teachers come to you. That's pretty much how the first year is. Your first semester, you have an assigned seat and your professors rotate to you. And then in the second semester, they reassign you a new seat. That's your permanent seat for the semester, and the professors go around. Now, they have over 120 electives, and in your second year, you take electives. all electives. So your second year is when you're in classes with some people that were probably in your section first year, but oftentimes people that were in other sections, some that many of which you don't know because the class size at 928 is very large. HBS is also very big on learning and practice. So Harvard Business School created the case study method, and all of the courses are in case study method. So if you're not familiar, what that means is instead of learning lecture style like a lot of undergrad courses are, where you're sitting in a class and you're watching the teacher lecture and it's not very interactive, case studies are very interactive. You have a case that you read the night before class, and there are questions that you're supposed to think about and answer when reading that case. All of the cases, for the most part, are based on real life business situations, and you're pretty much putting yourself in the protagonist's shoes. What would they do? If I was in this situation and I got an offer to sell my business, what would I do and why? And the majority of the class is a big discussion going back and forth with your section mates about why you would do this, why you wouldn't do that. Harvard Business School also has field-based learning, which you take advantage of mostly in your second year, and international immersions. A lot of business schools do have opportunities to study abroad with HBS. That's now a part of the curriculum. In some cases, you may get assigned, and they're all randomly assigned. So in some cases, you may get assigned to a project that's US-based, but from my knowledge, oftentimes international students may be paired with that, or maybe more likely to be paired with that than domestic students. HBS also offers 3 joint degree programs, one JD MBA with the Harvard Kennedy School, an MD MBA, and then an MS MBA. So there are options if you're interested in getting a joint degree.
Admit me, never apply alone.